Hello, cello students. So we're ready for some new skill builders today. We're going to be on page 31 doing skill builders 122 through 124. So this is using the slurring that you learned in the last lesson. So starting out, we're going to start on open G. Half note is up. Is a tied quarter note. So you'll see two quarter notes with a tie. That should sound exactly the same as your half note D. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, so make sure y'all are using that as a half note. Okay, on to the three note slurs. We're gonna go from G, F sharp, E. That's all gonna be down bow, and then we're gonna go up bow on the open D. Now, the open D is going to be 3 beats. We're in 3/4 time now, so we have that strong, weak counting pattern here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Notice those last two measures. You have a long, short, long. So we're going to go long, short, long, like that. Okay, so you're going to do a half note B, 1, 2, 3, and that's all in a down bow. I think, let's see, this is up, down, up, down, up, down, up, that's all in a down bow. Okay, so down, up. The very last note is the up bow. Okay. Now on to 124. This one is super fun to play fast. So you guys work on it really slowly, really carefully, and then you can do it fast. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate it 2 different ways. So first, I'm going to demonstrate your practice tempo because there's 8th notes in here, there's slurs in here, lots of confusing stuff if you're new to all this. Here we go. So here's our practice tempo in 2/4 time. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, 2. Okay, so keep that tempo really slow in the beginning, keeping those 8th notes separate. Okay, here's how it sounds more at a performance tempo after you know it. Now, it might be a little bit harder to work on those slurs that quickly, like especially this part. So make sure that you work on getting your fingers down first. So rather than working on bowing first, work on doing the fingering, maybe do pizzicato. And so on, because you're doing slurs like that. So just one pluck like that. Might sound a little weird, that's okay. All right, so work on that slowly first. All right, now we're gonna get into our lesson songs. So on page 30 now, we're actually going back because the skill builders were put ahead there. So page 30, we're gonna talk a little bit about an upbeat. Now, an upbeat is also called a pickup note or a pickup measure. So what that is basically it's like leftover beats from the very end of the song. So let's say the end of the song, like 116 here, Song for Maria, has 3 beats at the end of the song. So we're just doing, and that's it for the end of the song. It just ends like abruptly there. So when it ends there with only 3 beats, we're in 4/4 time, so we know there needs to be 4 beats. So that means our very first measure of the song is actually an incomplete measure. It's a pickup from our last measure. So it has 1 beat, because it can only have one, because we only left off one beat at the end of the song. So this is our pickup note, the A. So when we start, our count off would go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, so you're actually starting on beat 4. If you start off counting and you start on beat 1, it's going to throw your whole song off rhythm. Okay, so make sure you don't do that. Okay, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Show y'all just maybe the first line at performance tempo. So work it up to something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that, so it sounds more cheerful. So it does say andante, so it is at a walking pace, but it's a lot of fun to practice it at a quicker pace than that. All right, next up it shows you a couple of little boxes there. One, a little history box about Latin American music, and the next one is a little theory box about what the term dici al fine means. So what that means is the fine means you're finished, okay? So when you get, it's spelled fine, but it's pronounced fine. So when you get to that spot, you want to go on and go until you get to the dici al fine. And what that means is you return to the beginning and then you play until fine. So you go through the whole song, ignore that first fine sign because that's something that's going to be repeated after you complete that. So I'm going to go through this little piece here slowly, and y'all just track in your books where I'm at and what I'm actually doing, okay? So this is page 30, exercise 117. It's called the Banana Boat Song, okay? So we're gonna start on high D here. So there it says fine, but we're gonna keep going because this is our first time through. Dici al fine, so we're going to go back to the beginning and play until we get to fine. And there's our ending right there. All right, so that's all there is to that one. It's pretty short song, pretty easy as well. Okay, last one is Firaliralera. Now, this one is a Mexican folk song. It's a lot of fun, and it's supposed to be played allegro. So that's fast. I'm going to demonstrate it a little slower for you guys so you can kind of see what's actually happening in the song. Okay, so it's in 3/4 time, but it actually starts with upbeats because our last measure only has one beat. Reason being, it's tied to the second to last measure. Okay, so we're actually going to have 2 beats as upbeats. Okay, now this is a 2-part song, so there's actually 2 different parts I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you part A first because this is like the melody, and then part B is the harmony underneath. Okay, so starting on beat 2, so we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and like that, okay, because they're 8th notes. So it's 2 and 3 and. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and. Rest. Rest. I meant to say 1, not rest. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, because it's a tied dotted half note, so you have 3 beats plus that quarter note. That makes it 4. You could actually say 4 there. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but the correct way to count it would be, the ending would be beat 1. Okay, now for our second part. So that was our melody. Now our second part, we're going to be starting on beat 2 as well, but there's several rests in here. I'm going to count as I go along here so y'all know what's happening here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, rest, 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 2, 3. Okay, so that's how those rests kind of feel. Okay, now I'm going to count it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Had the wrong bowing there. Okay, so you're going to be ending on F sharp. Okay, so the melody is ending on D, and then the harmony is ending on F sharp. So they're going to blend there. So if you have 2 cellos playing this, it sounds super, super cool. Otherwise, part B is kind of boring on its own. So if you're learning this with just you don't have anybody playing with you, then work on part A mostly, because that's where most of the skills are. Part B is good to work on just for the sake of rhythm. Okay, so y'all work on that. Now, one more song I want to give y'all before we go is on page 31. It's the only song on that page because we have skill builders there. So let's finish out that page in this lesson. This one also uses a pickup note. So I want to show y'all that. So beat 4 is at the beginning of our piece of music. So we count off 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop on 3 because beat 4 is at the beginning of the piece of music. One thing I want to show y'all, quick trick on this one, is in that spot where it goes C, C, E, C, this part here, and then it shows a bracket for this part. What you can do is you can add your own bracket once your fingers are strong enough. The reason they don't put it in this spot is because sometimes it's really too hard for beginners, but once your fingers are ready, you can do it. So you finger your C, and then you finger your E up here with first finger at the same time, so then you can get that faster. Like that, so you're ready. And you can practice those 2 measures together, working on that transition, and it's actually pretty easy once you get the hang of it. All right, so y'all have fun with all those songs. That gives y'all a lot of songs to work on. And next up, we are going to be working on learning some new notes. We are going to work on F natural and C natural on pages 32 and 33. So these are going to feel a lot alike because it's just on two different strings, same pattern. But you want to be able to distinguish between your naturals and your sharps, and we're going to look at that in the next lesson. So y'all practice hard. I'll see you in the next lesson.